Hey guys, Tyler Ansman here with Tyler Ansman Performance. So today we're going to talk about training to failure and its implications for throwing velocity. So oftentimes when people kind of think about training, they're like, training hard is like the most important factor. And like training hard is kind of like working hard, right? It's a prerequisite to success. But what training hard is important that we kind of define that. So training to failure is not necessarily the approach we always want to use. While this can net some gains when you first start training and may not cause any issues right then, it does have different implications as you go on through your training career. So let's first kind of talk about what the adaptations are that we need in order to increase our throwing velocity. So we'll start with our neurological adaptations. Okay, so our first adaptation is coordination. So basically this means that force is applied in the right direction, in the right sequence, at the right time, etc. And this does tend to be specific to the mode of training chosen. So like if you do a lot of grinding reps, right, getting really close to failure, you're going to get good at that. If you do a lot of kind of higher velocity sets, you're probably going to get better at that, right? This is one of the reasons that when we look at like velocity-based training, where failure is, like that last kind of the lowest possible velocity before failure for like a true 1 RM, is very different for like the highest level elite powerlifters versus like other athletes who also lift as part of their training. The powerlifters, their sport is literally 1 rep maxes in those 3 lifts. So they've gotten very, very good at grinding out these very heavy reps. That's not necessarily what we want when we're training in the weight room as part of our sport. Okay, the second adaptation is motor unit recruitment. So basically we have low threshold motor units, and they tend to be recruited first, or they are recruited first because of the size principle. So basically these are your kind of type 1 slower twitch fibers. They're more resistant to fatigue, but they're not capable of as high of outputs as the kind of type 2, as the higher threshold motor units. And so these are kind of called upon when the CNS determines that their assistance is required. And so this could be when heavy loads are being used, so right away we'll kind of get to these, or when light loads are being lifted in close proximity to failure, or when maximal velocity is intended. So repeated exposure to kind of maximal effort activities can kind of help make more high threshold motor units available that were not available before. All right, so this is kind of an important adaptation when we're talking about throwing velocity. Next one, rate coding. All right, so rate coding is the frequency at which motor units discharge action potentials to activate motor units, right? Increasing the rate at which motor units are activated increases the potential for overall force output and force output in shorter time frames, right? So high velocity movements have been shown to increase rate coding to a greater degree than heavy loading, right? So we know this from research. And then the last one is antagonist muscle activation. So basically if we kind of think about, when we're doing a bicep curl, if our tricep was super active, we have a lot of stability around that joint, right? So antagonist activation is important for stability. But if they're too active in movements when we don't want them, what they do is they reduce the net torque that we're able to produce, okay? So that can be problematic.